Fortnite fam? Welcome back to the last chance lobby. Me and Viv, after on that break, we were celebrating. We were high-fiving each other. We were jumping. We were screaming like Shadow Virgo, game one. They're going to finals. But we still have 4 games left to go, which Kelly's got, you know, that pressure's starting to mount. My nervousness is starting to mount as well. Only 4 games left to go, and only the victory royale matters. There's still some big names out here that they need these VRs, Kelly. They need these VRs.
Yeah, 100%. And I think at the start of the end of that game, we kind of thought that maybe it was Kanata and Sphinx that were going to be kind of walking away with it. As far as high ground, they took it around zone 9 and held on to it for quite a while. But we do know that if you pull height that early, I say zone 9, this is zone 7, and it already looks like they have an early height. When you hold it this high, and especially when it looks like they already have minimal mats just by zone A, and it looks like so many people are already pushing to steal height, it was an inevitability that they were going to have to drop it, and they relatively successfully defended it and even dropped it again. But once you just take so much damage, Vivid, you lose so much material and so many heals, it's hard to recover.
So here's the thing that worries me a little bit about Kanata and Sphinx. I feel like a lot of people at home would look at this and be like, oh, wow, like Kanata and Sphinx are doing great. They're kind of claiming the early high ground. I don't like it at all, because we know exactly how these games are kind of going to play out. And we got a little bit of a sneak peek at it in this specific game where, you know, yeah, we saw Kanata and Sphinx are up on the high ground. But how many teams do they have to keep fighting that are just going to keep overdrive grenading up? Because teams are just going to keep coming, because the only thing that they want to play for is the win, which is why we saw towards the later half of that game, right, when we got all the way to zone 12, our 2 healthiest teams were actually on the low ground, right? We saw Moneymaker and F9, who were in a great position to actually win the game, and then also Shadow and Virgo, a team that was also very, very healthy. 2 teams that didn't go for that win con that Fortnite is kind of known for, because so many teams are going for it. I don't know if it's going to be sustainable. So it's great that Kanata and Sphinx can kind of get that high ground, perhaps just a little bit too early. So I hope they kind of look to maybe play a little bit differently going into some of these following games, because I feel like that might be the best bet.
It's fine, right? They've got 4. You got 4 chances. That's like
It's fine.
3 more chances than they need. You know what I'm saying? It's everything's fine. You did mention Moneymaker and Fanayan there as well. You know, another duo that they were looking pretty good, right? Taking it all the way to that 1v2 situation. Unfortunately, didn't quite work out in that favor. Or in their favor rather, but they are currently looking like they're firing on all cylinders, making it up all the way there, Kelly. At that point, you're kind of, you know, leaning into like, hey, do you have what it takes to win? Getting there, they've proven they can do after 1 game. If they get there again, I gotta feel like they've got to be able to push that, right?
Well, somewhat of a reflection of Virgo as well. Earlier, you say they're firing on all cylinders, but all the way to zone 12, they had 0 eliminations. So unless they're like a 2-cylinder car, I don't know how many cylinders they're running. But again, that is the meta that is within the LCL. You have to be passive. You can't take these crazy engagements and have these, you know, double-digit elimination games. So to see Moneymaker and F9 just play this passive on the low ground game, and to be able to do that without having to worry about Storm Vivid, is definitely what a lot of other players are going to be looking to do in these next 4 games as well.
I mean, Moneymaker and Fine just played game number 1 so well. If they can do that exact same thing again, kind of get themselves in a situation where they're on the low ground, a healthy duo, then yeah, their chances to go ahead and win for sure go up. Let's go ahead and talk about one of those other teams that is kind of sending the high ground right now, right? Madden and Chance were kind of up there, kind of overdriving up, getting themselves into the mix, and these type of play styles, like sometimes they work out if you are kind of timing it very, very well. If you take a look at their position, right, they're on the high ground. They've got the weaponry. They got some of the, you know, resources to go ahead and win this one out. But again, kind of getting a taste of their own medicine. When they kind of look up, there's a team above them that just does so much damage, and we kind of saw it right there again. Scare starts to go up as well. So even Madden and Chance kind of taking the late opportunity, what was it, in like zone 11, maybe zone 12, again, they get themselves put into a situation that even though they took it late, it still feels like too early. Like maybe high ground is just not sustainable from any point in the game, but exciting to kind of see them gain control over it for at least a little bit of time. Look for these guys to go ahead and probably send high ground again.
You have to wonder in that moment for the revive, it definitely made them vulnerable. I wonder if maybe he just went to kind of hold high ground, would have been a different story. But regardless, to do that and even pull it off was pretty impressive. So they're looking good after game number 1, and I can expect more good things coming in out of the following games.
Yeah, props for sure, right? That's a very risky play, but again, Kelly used the word earlier, pandemonium. That's what the LCL is all about. So let's see if another duo can find a calm in that storm. Game number 2 is ready. So let's jump back on that battle bus.
You know, Zeke, I might be calm now. I might be calm as we stand, but let these games continue in that same trajectory. I cannot say the same thing later on in the day. But what Vivid's basically saying is let Game 1 Monster be a wake-up call to anybody that looks towards high ground.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we got a sample of what it's going to take, and more importantly, grabbing it early was working until you eased up the pressure. Once the other team saw an opportunity, bam, the shockwaves came up, and it was just a matter of time there, Jacob.
Yeah, so you just really got to be careful. You take it too early, you got to expect team after team to use those shockwaves to send it towards high ground. So you really have to have that mental math in your mind. How many materials is worth this first fight? How much do I invest? Because if I know anything and Game 1 showed anything, that more and more teams will continue to send it. We're going to see that here because Game 2 is ready. So let's jump right into it.
Judging by those last few performances there, I mean, a few teams were popping off and definitely had my attention. I was looking at Scare G Money's performance. You saw Cam and Bucky nearly go the distance there. And then, of course, the biggest upsets are going to land for Kanata and Sphinx. You know, even though they're contested at the drop, they had a good time last time around, you know, keying the opponents here. So I think that's going to be a surge of confidence. But coming up as short as they did, man, that's going to be a setback too.
Especially since they were one of those teams on the high ground trying to hold it, but you just invest so much, whether you're taking it early or team after team looking to kind of fight them off, and now they have to do it yet again with the same circumstances. Contested drop, half the loot from Frosted Flats being stolen away. As we go back on over towards Latte landing again, we know this one kind of starts off a little slow between the teams that do land here, one side for each of them, and then they kind of go from there. But it looks like this time around, Ultra and Diego plays have Latte landing relatively uncontested.
Yeah, this is definitely going to work out well for them. You know, they managed to, of course, kind of have a bit of a showing there towards the end, but still need a little bit more to push it across the finish line. Cole, Ruins on the other side, just trying to go ahead and win their wonky land battle here. So far, so good for them. Comes the Shockwave pushing across. Was really going for it here. He didn't even take the time to farm up extra material at all. Just really trying to take the fight here. Wow, this player is so low and gets crushed with a monster shot. There goes the upgrade to the striker now. And Light's feeling it here.
Yeah, I was going to say this is possibly a winnable situation, but another team rotates on over. Just a quick beam from the burst is like, it's another shot before eventually going down to Ruins. Again, we talked about Madden and Chance. This is the other half. This is Cole, who played with Madden for so long. They went to the summit and they just didn't kind of get what they wanted to get out of that land. And now they're here, new team with Ruins, and have an opportunity winning off spawn.
Have it again from Kanata's perspective. They end up winning their first fight at the flats. That's the initial hurdle for them. From there, it's a slow walk to the end game. Bucky, Cam already rotating, but let's get back to just wrap up this fight here. Kanata, once again, wins the shots, hits what he needed. This was the Kanata we were missing in the heats, but right now he seems to be fired up.
Just a quick win there as Bucky Cam left Sinister Strip to go ahead and grab that Warforged Mythic AR. And that's going to help them a lot in a fight like this, being able to burn through the other team's materials. Cam needs to be careful not to get caught off guard as Bucky continues to go to work on the whole other angle. Snowy did try to peek to land a sneaky shot, but not going to be able to land it up until now. Damien trying to go ahead and push Bucky back, which kind of brings it into a relatively fair fight. Bucky Cam with a little bit of damage, one of them taking all the damage while Damien is full HP and shield.
Yeah, they seem to be kind of losing the plot here as Damien and Snowy are putting up a good counter fight, but all sides are out of material, running low on the builds now as well. It seems like the disengage is at play for Bucky and Cam. This might not be the worst opportunity either for them to go ahead and get back onto the material route. Also, look at Bucky's overall ammo. Definitely looking light.
Yeah, you can kind of see what they prioritize for the most part, getting their hands on the Warforged, and they can kind of fill out their loadout later. It's going to be a good situation for them because Sinister is so big to split. Diego, Ultra, even though they're uncontested, they're not straying away from this fight. They know this team is kind of lurking at the top of the mountain. Instead of letting them get free tags and them kind of build up their surge while taking away from you, they try to go ahead and turn the tables. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like they found what they wanted. They shockwave back in the direction of Latte landing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing either. They got all the time in the world. The zone very, very early on is telling that it's going to pull towards the north.
North zone will be welcome for some. Let's take a look. On over to F9 and Moneymaker. You know, another team that just surprised me. They showed up in the end game and they pulled a very much Shadow and Virgo-like strategy. They were pretty quiet, just trying to avoid any fights there in the end game, but after their hand was forced, you know, everything broke loose there. Jumping to the other side though, Magma, Void already picking up another elimination, so things are moving very fast from here. We're on pace, sort of like the last game, with how many teams are already eliminated here. Things are flying by.
Man, just like feels like just like heat stages, you know, Sinister Strip becoming a home for so many. The amount of materials you could farm there, different kinds. Mainly, you're gonna be a hard match. Scare and G Money. Not too far away from Calamari, not too far away from the mountain. We know they box up on. They get that back-to-back eliminations here. Probably dropping that whole team back onto the lobby. At least they have 3 more games left and 3 more golden opportunities. But for Scare and G Money, just a shockwave really cost them a lot. We saw Scare essentially ruin the whole team's journey on high ground in that last game, which made it a little bit easier for Virgo to make that clutch happen.
Yeah, I think they would have had it otherwise. You know, having a strong duo up on height, there's no way that anyone else should have been able to dethrone them. Scare, G Money, of course, are going to be a team to keep an eye on, as we are with Brennan and Jordan, seeing how things are going for them. We're just waiting for this team to really get things to align for them. They only need one opportunity, and we'll see them up top, pushing their way towards endgame.
Just thinking right now, what would be the strategy for some of the Skyberry? Because they're looking over towards Wonky Land. And the thing about Wonky Land is for not just this season, but last season as well, you know, teams do stay up towards that wheel. They get early game surge, and they kind of let other teams kind of bypass them in a zone just like this, and they kind of late rotate with the shockwave and the wonky wheel effect. So that's what Brennan and Jordan have in the back of their mind. They're trying to be very, very careful, calculated, continuously looking off in that direction. But little do they know, it's Cole and Ruins inside of Wonky Land, continuously lurking around, not necessarily in the base above.
Yeah, they're pretty far out there too. Like, they're trying to find themselves a position to go ahead and set up their strategy here, if you will. Look at that map knowledge, though. Knowing exactly where to go here, but Cole, Ruins might have spotted them out. Yep, Jordan's a little cautious here.
They're just on a clock. That's going to be the only unfortunate thing for Jordan and Brennan. They're on a clock. Like, other players get to play with a different kind of feel of flexibility. You have to start your sky base at a certain point, and that point is quickly coming for them. For Cole and Ruins, they don't even know the team is there, which means they're kind of not pressed. They're not scared to take damage. They probably think they're the only ones out here enjoying this theme park. So for Brennan and Jordan, I hope to see them back later in the game, getting some scraps, seeing what they can make of this game. You see Drew and Chris over at Lifty Lodge. We saw them go down early in game number 1. And the contested drops at Lifty Lodge isn't necessarily the easiest thing. You have to contest the top mountain or go right underneath. And if you kind of go underneath and split those drops, it just becomes a pain. It becomes drawn out like some of the other fights we've seen today.
Yeah, it always surprises me to see teams fighting here on this outer edge. It seems like such an isolated area, but so many players tend to rotate down here just to kind of take a look at what's going on. Obviously, at these mending machines on the way past. You can see Flurry just hiding out here while Chris and Drew trying to get their heals situated. Sphinx and Kanade on the other side, keeping active here. This is a bit of a surprise for me, for them to want to continue to engage with teams. I guess they weren't too happy with their surge in the mid game last time, so really trying to push past that threshold. Nice little micro adjustment for them. Meanwhile, we get to jump in with Osid Mero here on the south side, trying to ambush a team as well.
I know for sure Osid landing here almost all chapter long for the most part. Obviously with a little bit of a different duo, G Money instead of Mero, but it just goes to show that there's a ton of familiarity here on this side. And you can see in Sunken Shores, I talked about the mini game, releasing the valve on one side, patching it on the other, which kind of lets you kind of make a wish for 200 gold. Not only do you and your duo get to make that wish, but any other team that has 200 gold and rotates in. So it does become a little bit of a hot spot later on in these games. And that's why you see Mira and Osid potentially returning back, because the probability of having so many different scrap loots or being able to kind of flank and get damage like this is just relatively high.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised Mako and Daze actually saw Osid there. You saw the builds coming out a little prematurely, so I think they had a feeling that someone might have been lurking nearby. And there it is. Osid opens with a few tags just to go ahead and give himself a little bit of that lead. Mero doubles back to the house where you saw that med kit. Taking advantage of the free midi while he can. Meanwhile, there's Flixes here, City on the other side. Oh, they're right behind Diego and Ultra. Just gonna open fire, doesn't hit the shots and doesn't wait for his teammate either, so might have been a small misplay there. Either way, Diego and Ultra are gonna be happy. They don't have to dig into the heroes or slow down.
Yeah, you gotta think when a lot of players are VOD reviewing certain situations like this, it's little moments like that that may not necessarily make or break a game, but compound those same results throughout the course of the game. It definitely kind of puts you in a bad spot. You wonder where their surge is at, how a shot like that would help them later on in the games. You see the zone moving south of Calamari Canyon. So for those that were kind of eager to position up around this area, got to imagine are sitting good. Whether they don't have a lot of surge now, the opportunity is going to be there as soon as the rest of the teams in the north and the eastern side of the map start to rotate in.
Soneto, Zypta getting the first warnings here. Looking really decent on the overall damage at the moment. Zone's pretty much right on top of them. We're going back to the canyon here this go around.
This is where it gets a little bit more stacked. This edge of the map, you've seen teams on high ground, teams on low, others by the vending machine. It's all on the eastern edge where more and more teams are going to have to slowly but surely begin to rotate in. Kanata and Sphinx, you see the Mythic in their inventory, 19th in their heat, just kind of outside of that bubble and consistency. 11th place in the last chance qualifier to make it here into this last chance lobby. Just got to be able to win one of these 5 games today. Just like Civ and Haris, even though they're below the damage threshold, they do have some extra heals to try to pick themselves back up, and they have Pluto on the run.
Yeah, even with 2 elims right now, they seem to be struggling here and now. Teammate down, barely making it to the storm. Not much to work with for Civ and Haris. It's cost them a fair bit, but clearly they are much more and ahead. Storm now jumping into 2-tick territory. Do notice they don't have extra whites to work with. They have to go fast and now. There's Pluto, kind of keeping an eye out here. Civ wastes no time, playing very, very safe here on the rotated. Just gathered the attention of the lobby though. This is more personal for Pluto here.
And I do like that little peek from Pluto. Immediately, Haris and Civ make it in towards zone. He already has 2 full boxes built, and he tries to put out pressure, saying, essentially, don't look in my direction. If you peek, it's going to be a risk. While they're safe on one side, G-Money and Skate are running into a little bit of troubles on the other. They're going to be 300 or so above the damage threshold, but G-Money gets his shields cracked just like that. A couple more moves in that same direction is going to be hard for them. As we get an update on my favorite team in the lobby, using somebody else's surge base to start their own sky base. You know what they say, you know, one man's trash is another man's treasure. This could be the treasure they're looking for.
Come on. Whoa.
Think about this. This is like just insane to me. The way that they have such a sound strategy. They know exactly when to kind of take off. They ride it out all the way to the 2-tick.
Oh,
And the way they use the boots to glide and get in so fast. I mean, it's just impressive, right?
Okay, so I might be out of date. I may be That's not an aficionados. I forgot about the sliders being utilized in these situations.
Not ready,
And
not
honestly, this is
ready.
looking good. They make it to the edge of zone. They know it's going to open up a little bit more, and that's why they switch from the floors to the walls. Because when a team looks up,
No
you can really
fucking-
see a lot of
oh,
those floors being
fucking-
paced out. When you build a wall and then you edit the top 3 tiles, just a little bit sliver of a build. If you don't have kind of the right eyes, you don't look up at the right time, or you even have a clear field of view, you're not necessarily going to see them. And it's just hopefully they can make this one work, because we saw them close and now they're taking active surge. No.
Well, here's the thing, right? If they're gonna survive, they can't both stay alive. Like that doesn't make sense. If someone's gonna sacrifice themselves here, surely they have to, like they need to. But if one of them falls, do they build a floor to like catch all the loot? I don't know. I don't see it, but we'll have to keep a close eye on it. It looks like Jordan's gonna be the first to likely sacrifice himself here. They're trying to wait this one out. Brennan's gonna be the one mech hitting up. Well, they're both gonna try to stay in. I'm pretty confident. This is crazy, Jacob.
Might be a little bit too early, but Jordan's like, bro, I got you. On the other side, while one team's just probably having the time of their life, down below, you see one going down. Lalu just kind of fighting for everything that he has, gets another shockwave, the siphon materials. He has a lot of builds to protect himself.
No way,
once he gets
bot.
there. It's about closing the
It's a team
gap,
of
and that's
bots.
why he's digging into his chug jugs.
Oh,
100 plus below the damage
You're
threshold.
above.
Not only is he taking Storm, he's taking Storm Surge ticks.
You're watching the left. I'm still staring at the right. They ended up above Jordan and Brennan there. Lolo's gonna fall, and Jordan and Brennan are above
No
the
way.
surge by 40. They are one team ahead somehow, just barely above the pack.
We
Well,
need
if they
the
can
team
manage to
in
make it to the
final.
end, everyone's gonna be distracted down low. Let's take a look at what else is happening here on the map. Moneymaker for 9. Above the surge, find a way rotating through. He gets caught up by Harry's, but he finishes him off with a monster shot there. Well played for them. Bucky Cam starting to position up for a little bit of the high ground lurk. They're eyeing things up. They didn't quite pull the zone. No one did, in fact, but they are going to be one of the first to rotate to it. Miro Osid on the opposite end of the spectrum here have to go all the way through. Tough rotate to make, but they're off.
Yeah, literally one of the farthest pulls in this lobby for Mero. That's why he's quick to the punch. Ultra, Diego, they have to rotate, but they're also worried about their lack of materials and barely being above that damage threshold. They're trying to get something before they go, and that is definitely something for sure. It may not be maximum material by any means, but it's way better than they were just at. And now they got to fight their way out as Diego goes down. Ultra's now by himself. Diego's the one with a lot of experience. If somehow Ultra wins this game, this could be his first FNCS Grand Finals appearance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, looking at what Ultra's doing here, he's popping off, but now he's 66 below the threshold there. A lot of teams rotating across. This is what happens when no one pulls the zone. Everyone's forced to kind of hop on over and the fights break out. If you're sitting up top with some visuals on this, you're feeling pretty good about the activity happening right now, but the surge is still very much active here. Meanwhile, Moneymaker for 9 trying to fight for a little bit more territory. He gets hit with a huge shot. They're seeing that damage number fluctuate back and forth, so you know pressure's going to start setting in here. Osid, I was looking at for a second there at the front side of zone. Meanwhile, Kanata Sphinx still thinking about going for high ground this time, though. They don't want to commit too early. They're going for the material split. I wonder if they want to go for the refresh
they
first
don't need things
and then
to
set up, or if they're just going to full commit now.
Yeah, I think right now they realize just
if
too
the
early
Skype
in
bait,
game number 1.
yeah.
Let's continue to play this game now, especially with
Skype
how many
bait, not-
teams sent it
No.
towards the high ground, but they finally got found out. It's very hard to hit those half walls, so I'm not sure the amount of time they're going to have to be able to look up at 200 below the damage threshold. 2 extra medkits in the inventory. He's in desperate need of a little bit more action down below. 5 players need to fall, then he'll be saved. I'm not even sure he's taking
Doesn't make it. He doesn't make it.
Yes,
Oh,
he
he
does.
does.
Oh my God, dreams. We're hoping they do come true. And right now, Baron is just facing a
Okay.
nightmare.
Brennan tried.
At
He
game
tried
2,
his best.
okay?
He made it far,
If
but
it
not
do
far
more-
enough.
some
In the
more
end, we
damage,
jump back into the action
it
here
can-
with Bucky
that team can
and
win.
Cam. Bucky and Cam might have been the team that actually spotted him up there as they were trying to eye up what's going on high ground. Take a look at this. They have actually a pretty exceptional loadout. Double mythics here to work with, so Cam's got the firepower. Don't have really the material count, though. This is a tough spot to be in.
Definitely is for them, and this is probably why you see Moneymaker and Fnai and even Kanata and Sphinx trying to dominate these mid and low layers. They don't want to have to expend all their materials for a chance at high ground, so they're staying in the middle, just trying to get eliminations, pick up the mats when they can, even jumping forward. We're going to end up going up and over a little bit of a mountain, so for Bucky and Cam, this is perfect scenario as long as they have the builds or can clean up an elimination here. Right now, they're trying to push onto Cole, who seems to be by himself, but they're going to have to abandon ship. It's too risky with more and more teams shockwaving their direction.
So many teams playing second high right now. Like, there is just a lot going on here. Bucky, of course, has the right idea, but everyone wants a piece of the action happening up top. There it is. Cam finally caught out there to the hands of Madden there. Chance goes up for the high ground. He tries to take advantage. The monster shot comes out on both sides, but in the end, it's Chance and Madden who take down Bucky there, and now they're the ones on top.
Yeah, just that big shot there's. And the siphon for him going into zone and getting the material is going to cost him just a little bit, but Moneymaker finds himself by himself. Sphinx as well. Two big teams here with solo dreams they're working to make happen. 28 builds for Sphinx. At least he has something in the back pocket to kind of bring himself out from the depth that he's in. Miro and Osid there on the other side. Big shot on the Miro. Osid's getting sprayed. They find a way to reunite. The struggles aren't slowing down or stopping. Miro's going to get dropped. Osid trying to get out the box, but even high ground is noticing what's going on until they're fully out of the lobby.
It's Sphinx though. Sphinx is the one holding on here. He's got no teammate in Kanata. It's all up to Sphinx now, but the Chance in Madden high ground hold is looking very powerful. It's gonna be hard to beat such a skilled team. Meanwhile, Sphinx though, still playing the upset here. Catches Cole into the box there. Reaction speed was sharp. 17 remaining.
Narrowly dodges that shot as Avenger does go down. Kodak going to be left by himself. And you see Avenger just trying to share over that loop before he's finally out of this lobby for good. High ground pressuring. Cole and Bruins with a whole nother angle doing the same thing, forcing them out. Kodak tries to turn the corner, but he gets eliminated. Cole falls back to back from Sphinx. He is trying to keep his and Kanata's chances alive in this one. One of two solos. Chance and Madden are still
No way
up
not
on
the
top,
fucking
and they're pressuring out
clutch.
Sphinx. He goes for the chop. Timber, they are going to come down, but what can Sphinx do?
He's smart too. He sees the solo, decides that's not my problem. My problem is the duo. And he's really trying to play for the win, but in the end, Chance wins his ones. Madden does his as well. And they will be going to the finals.
Yep, they send it towards that high ground in back-to-back games. It may not have worked out for them in game number 1, but persistence is definitely going to be key for Madden and Chance as they claim their ticket to the grand final, Zeke.
Oh man, if that had gone a little slightly different, that would have been crazy. Madden and Chance though, that high ground. This is why we talk about it, guys. You need to go for that high ground. Maybe not as high as Brendan, but pretty good on the high ground, Kelly. Either way, they get themselves the VR, right? And there's only 3 games left to go. So doing it in game 2 has just got to be like just a massive relief.
I love that you can tell that Chance and Madden came into the LCL with a plan in mind. We kind of just got to see a little bit of rinse and repeat from game number 1 into game number 2. They had an okay amount of heals and a load up, but they just waited for this moment where high ground looked like it was a little too chaotic, and that would give them the opportunity to steal it away. And so they do that. Once Funky and Cam were on high, Chance and Madden were able to kind of just position themselves behind, wait for a moment for them to be distracted, and then stole it away with ease. And from there, they were able to control it. Beautiful drop down onto low ground, and the end is history.
So quickly after game 1, we were very eager to jump to conclusion on how high ground would play for the rest of the day, but only one singular fight required in just game number 2. Only one single time it went ahead and changed hands right there between Bucky and Cam and Madden, and Madden walks away with it, kind of stuck to that game plan like Kelly said, and it worked out, so we're gonna be seeing them in grand finals.
3 games left to go, Vivid. This window is very quickly closing. We are about to be the halfway point, and many names still are looking for a chance to qualify. We're going to go to break. When we return, we'll talk about more of what we saw in this game and start to prepare ourselves for game number 3. See you soon.